Greetings, friends. I'm Felton from the Catholic Worker, and we're here today at Ralph Bunche Park across from the United Nations, and this is Earth Day, April 22nd. This begins our third year of weekly vigils and nonviolent civil disobedience for peace in the small country of Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula. Conflict of one sort or another has raged ever since the two Yemens united to form one country in 1990. And none of us here today can pretend to have the definitive answer for the Yemeni people, the complete roadmap to peace. Our job is to stand by them in this desperate hour and help make their suffering known to all. And especially our job is to take responsibility for the dark and sinister role of the United States. How can it be that our country not only provides weapons and ammunition to the Saudi coalition for their merciless attacks on Yemen, but we also profit from the senseless death and starvation of the people of Yemen? Where is our shame? Where is our remorse? Let me read to you an excerpt from the debate that took place in the House of Representatives in February of this year, when our elected officials were trying to bring a resolution to the floor that would end U.S. cooperation in this war. This is from Representative James McGovern of Massachusetts. He said, "Nearly all of the bombs that have fallen say the same thing: made in the United States of America. They fall on weddings, they fall on hospitals and homes, they fall on funerals, refugee camps, and school buses. It is an aerial bombing campaign that hammers children, families, and civilian neighborhoods every single day. The U.S. military has supported this reign of terror with logistics, intelligence, ground support, mid-air refueling of bombers, and the sale of bombs and munitions dropped on Yemen. The Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project estimates that more than 60,000 civilians and combatants have been killed in Yemen over the last 2 years. This total is increasing by more than 2,000 people every single month. 85,000 children under the age of 5 have died from hunger and disease. 18 million people there are food insecure, and 75% of Yemen's population is in need of humanitarian assistance. The United Nations has said that Yemen is suffering from the fastest growing cholera epidemic ever recorded, as well as the world's biggest food emergency. These are not abstract numbers. These are human lives, tens of thousands of children lost. That was James McGovern of Massachusetts, and his bill was sent to the White House and vetoed by President Trump a few days ago. How deep into spiritual death can our nation plummet to turn such a blind eye to the widespread suffering that our policies facilitate, not only in Yemen, but across the Middle East and elsewhere around the world? How can we live in such a time and gaze into the faces of the children?
Today, this is over 4 years that we're trying to end this terrible bombing. The United States selling all of these killer weapons to Saudi Arabia, this terrible regime that our government is acting like they're friends of ours. These are criminals that are killing children, bombing children. This is a photo of Nora, who was the first casualty after Trump was inaugurated. We are here for her and for all of these poor children who have no life, who were killed. Thank you. Please join us. We have our vigil every Saturday at Union Square, and we're not giving up. Thank you.
Maybe this war would be over, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you think they will?
Do you think they will?
Do you think they will? That they'll stop? That they'll listen to the people?
They've started to at least have a dialogue about it. I'm never very hopeful as far as the United States is concerned. But we got to keep going, and we got to keep pushing, we got to keep trying.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sally, and we finally got some attention from Congress, and they voted to withdraw U.S. from the Yemen war, but the President vetoed it. And if it wasn't for people that are like the people who are standing here and the people following Congress and demonstrating and writing letters and getting the word out, Yemen would just disappear from people's consciousness. We've got to keep raising the issue, and I'm really thankful for the people who organized this today.
Tell me why you're here.
My name is Charlotte Phillips. I'm from Brooklyn for Peace, and I'm here because what the U.S. is enabling in Yemen is totally unacceptable. We're selling arms to the Saudi Arabia and also to the United Arab Emirates, and more than, to my sign, more than 2 million civilians have been displaced. Many more have been killed. And it's really just unacceptable that we continue to do this. So I'm here to bring this issue to the attention of the public, and also to let people know that President Trump did veto the bill, which would have stopped the U.S. involvement in this war, and needs to go back to the Senate, and the House to override his veto. And we're sincerely hoping that will happen.
What I can say is it's terrible what the United States is doing all over the world, and also to the people, its own people in our country, and the fact that the weapons that are being used by the Saudis in Yemen are being made here in the United States, and we continue to sell weapons to countries who are invading and trying to take land that's not theirs away from the people who live on and own the land. And what we've done in Yemen, what we've been abetting Saudi Arabia doing in Yemen, they're destroying their water supply, they've destroyed their fishing industry, they've destroyed many people, bombing schools, killing children, and then there's the embargo. I know it's not called an embargo, but they're not allowing food and supplies in, so that you have a lot of malnutrition and illness in the country. And to think that the United States could stop this. And that's why we're protesting, that's why I'm protesting, and hoping that somebody can do something about the United States' involvement in doing what the Saudis are doing in Yemen.
What is the value of human life, brothers and sisters? What is the value of the life of a child? Why should our lives and the lives of our children have value, while on the other side of the world we can barely even acknowledge the systematic murder and mayhem that our foreign policy makes necessary? What demon has come to possess our souls and turn us into such blind and acquiescent accessories to crimes against humanity? Is this the time that the prophet Ezekiel envisioned when he said that unchecked violence blossoms like a flower, while arrogance sprouts and doom bursts forth? Outside is the sword, inside are plague and famine. Those in the country will die by the sword, those in the city will be devoured by famine and plague, and the fugitives who escape will have to flee to the mountains. As you have done, cried out Obadiah in the Hebrew scripture, as you have done, it will be done to you. Your deeds will return upon your own head. The blood of the Yemeni people cries out to us from the ground, and we have no answer. We have no answer because we have abandoned the basic concepts of justice and righteousness and goodness, and have taken refuge in the vacuum of moral relativism. We're like the character in one of Shakespeare's plays who said, "Well, there's nothing either good or bad except thinking makes it so." Who will rescue us from such a pit of idleness and swamp of disillusion? U.S.-made helicopters and jets rain down fire on a fish market, bringing desperately needed food to a starving people, and then they circle around to bomb those who attempt to rescue the victims, and then they circle around again to bomb the ambulances outside the hospital. Who can look into the eyes of a wounded child and give an answer? Who can acknowledge how intimately we are all connected to these continuing atrocities? The Yemeni people bring to the PBS reporter pieces of shells showing the names of the U.S. corporations who produced them, Lockheed and General Dynamics, while the Pentagon says, "We do not know if these are U.S.-made bombs." That's our excuse. We do not know. Is that all we have to say? The German judge who was put on trial at Nuremberg did a little better. He said, "We did not know because we did not want to know." Bomb and famine and plague cannot have the last word in Yemen or anywhere else. Even in our own military bases where nuclear submarines practice for the total destruction of the planet, friends have intruded and poured their blood on the instruments of horror and stand ready to speak the truth in court and spend the rest of their lives in prison if necessary. Like a thief in the night is the awful truth waiting to invade and inspire us until we throw down our weapons and beg for forgiveness.
Let Yemen live! Let Yemen live! Let Yemen live! Stop bombing! Let Yemen live! Let Yemen live! Stop starving children! Let Yemen live! Stop starving children! Let Yemen live! Stop!
United Nations, which is supposed to be a body that is aimed at keeping peace. That was at least the original intent, that they would stop war. And it's very disturbing that they are not doing anything.
Want me to say why I'm here?
Yeah. And tell me just give me your thoughts on what's
My
going
name
on.
is Anna, and I think this situation cannot go on any longer. It's unbelievable that a country like United States still sell weapons to a country that murders even children, innocent children. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think that's why we are here.
I feel helpless, and this makes me feel a little better in the face of all that's going on in the world, particularly Yemen now, because that's the biggest humanitarian crisis going. I mean, you couldn't pick one out, but it's just, it's beyond saddening and making me angry, but it's my small thing that I do. And I was listening to a song just yesterday, Leonard Cohen, Anthem, And it's in it, he says, and I thought about it when I was looking at this sign, the dove is never free. The dove is never free. People have to be vigilant because all through history, and everybody thought that they had to fight for that, for freedom, for peace. Maybe the world will be better. The people expect it, but it's not. It's not the nature of man, and we have to kind of fight against our worst nature all the time, and other people's. We have to. If we see it, it's our. I guess it's our little bit we can do to say it, call it when we see it.
The situation is devastating, and what we can do very little about what Saudi Arabia itself is doing, but that the United States is really a major supporter of this and knows that it is, and had an opportunity to change with the bills that passed through our Congress. And our president vetoed the bills, knowing that this is what is happening there. And we know that it's a business, a commercial. The Saudis, they want free access to the corridor that leads to the Red Sea. They want that part of the Arabian Peninsula. And the U.S. is interested in the resources, and so here we are, and it's devastating, and it makes me ashamed of my country.